In this video, we're going to break down a fairly simple indicator on the TradingView platform that will help us analyze volumes. It's called the Horizontal Volume Indicator. You can go to the Indicators tab right now and type in Volume Profile, and accordingly, you'll immediately see this indicator, Fixed Range, and you add the one from this author. So, you add this indicator. Next, you need to set it up. The settings are very simple, 150, 50, and 80. Here, sometimes we'll set the value to 100 and move the indicator further. Other times, we'll move the indicator to the left and set the value to 200. I'll talk more about this later, how to work with it. So you can go ahead and take these settings right now. We'll start by working with the universal ones. Settings, 150. That's it, our indicator is fully set up. You don't need to touch anything else. And now we can get to work. Let's see how it works. For example, here we have a good situation on the euro-dollar. So, we can mark this entire main volume. We can really see that the price was constantly here. For now, we can even hide the main volumes. And accordingly, we can select the euro to US dollar currency pair and open a sell trade right from here. Why are we doing this? Look, we have a very large volume here. We can see this, first of all, from our trading range. So, the fact that the price was constantly here means this is an interesting zone for both buyers and sellers. Plus, a downward movement has started, so this level will act like a magnet for us. Accordingly, we open our trade in this direction, and just look at this impulse. That's already 25 points. Yes, sometimes in the moment you might not get that many points, but usually, if you do everything right, you'll see exactly these kinds of moves. The strategy with this indicator is actually very interesting, and it offers a lot of variety, which I'll show you in this video. It's a very reliable indicator, and even a beginner can figure it out. Just make sure to follow all the instructions from this video. Great. The first trade brings me a profit of $660. Not a bad profit. And let's take a look at another trade. But before that, let me remind you that in our Telegram channel you'll find even more useful information, ready-made strategies, and of course, ready-to-use indicators. If you're interested, then go ahead and click the link in the description right now to join our Telegram channel. That's where you'll find even more strategies and ready-to-use indicators. So, the link is waiting for you in the description. Our guys earn money pretty often. They get really good results just by trading with our strategies. Again, our community is free, and we share all the tools. Yes, if you want to become our partners, just write to our support account. There, the terms are different and the numbers are completely different too. So, I'm leaving all the useful links in the description. Alright, let's move on. Here's another really great situation. If you see, for example, that the price was moving sideways for a while, so it was here, and then suddenly it broke out of this range, then we can open a trade against this volume, right, not in the direction of the volume, not like the previous trade, but on the contrary, away from this volume. That's why I choose the currency pair British pound / Canadian dollar, and right from here I open a sell trade. Again, right from here I can. Yeah, let's talk about safety. The safest time frame is probably 1.5 or 2 minutes. After all, 1 minute is a bit too quick, especially with low volumes. If we take a look, the volumes have really dropped a bit. That's why I mistakenly opened the trade for just 1 minute. So, when we're trading based on volume or in the direction of the volume, it's best, as I said, to work with time frames from 1.5 to about 2 minutes. And even better, trade for 3 minutes. That will be the safest time frame. Let's see if I made a mistake and if I'm about to lose $750. Of course, that would be unpleasant, but the trade is still opened in the direction of the trend. So, we have a downtrend that's moving away from this main volume. Yes, and the analysis is still correct. It's just a question of timing. Did I get it right or not? With such small volumes, of course, as I said, it would have been safer to open for 2 or 3 minutes, but nevertheless, $570 are added to my balance. And let's open the next trade for $1,000. Look, here's another interesting situation when we have volume coming from both sides. So, we've got a situation both above and below. Here, you really need to give preference to whichever volume is greater. If they're both about equal, like they're roughly on the same line, then it's better to skip those situations. But if you see, for example, that the upper volume is greater, then, accordingly, its strength will be stronger. That means it will be pulling the price up from below. Of course, if the volume is higher here, but if, on the contrary, the volume is greater down here and less up here, for example, then the main magnet will be below. And once again, we never trade inside this volume, so it will be a complete mess here. And as a result, you won't be able to do a proper analysis that you can actually profit from. We only trade between the volumes. Once again, how do you choose it? I think you got it. So, you just pick a currency pair and look at where the main movement was, right? And if you want to take a more, let's say, sniper-like approach to see where the main volume is at the moment, then you set the value to 100. And, accordingly, as we can see, the main volume shifts over here. But if we set the value to 200, for example, then the volume pretty much stays in the same place. So, if you want to work on just a 1 minute time frame, actually, let's try doing that further. Then set the value to 100. That's where our main volume will be. By the way, this is actually an interesting situation. All the main volume is present here. Yes, there's also some volume below, but it's not as strong. Here's another thing I did. Would set the value to 150 and see where the overall volume is located. And overall, the volume is exactly where the price is right now. So I'm going to skip this currency pair. You can use this little life hack too, by the way. First, we looked at 100, then at 150, realized that the price is currently in the global volume, so we skipped the trade. Here we have the currency pair, US dollar to Swiss franc. Here we can see all the main volume. The price didn't quite reach it, as you can see, and then had a pretty good reversal. After that, there are no more volumes, and accordingly, there are no volumes here either. So this volume will now serve as our main magnet. What can we do? First, we'll put a little magnet here. And now, after such an impulse, we can open an upward trade for 1 minute right from here, because this is where our main volume is. Remember, if the price is near our horizontal volume, it will always be drawn in that direction, because that's where all the main buyers and sellers are. If the price is currently very, very far away, then it's actually better to open trades against that volume, not towards it, but in the opposite direction. I hope you'll remember that. We trade from 1 minute up to 5 minutes, or even 10 minutes, very calmly and quite smoothly. And most importantly, we don't trade inside this very horizontal volume. Yeah, as you can see, the volatility is very low. The trade just closes at 0, so I didn't lose anything right now and didn't gain anything either. Alright, let's just open the next trade for 1.5 minutes then, so the trade can play out confidently. Here's a pretty good setup on the Swiss franc / Japanese yen. The price is already very, very far from the main volume, so it's almost at the top. And from this area, basically, we can open a trade upwards, in the direction opposite to the volume. Let's pick this currency pair. Let's choose Swiss franc / Japanese yen. Yeah, the payout is 50%, which isn't super high, of course. But still, I'm opening my buy trade for 1.5 minutes. By the way, the volumes here are really good. So, we have every chance that we're going to see active growth now. Yeah, we went into a small correction, but that's not the point. By the way, I want to remind you again, while we're waiting for the trade, that all useful links will be in the description. If you want to get ready-made strategies and indicators, then go ahead and subscribe to our Telegram channel. That's where you'll find more strategies that beginners are successfully using to make money. But if you want something more, like personal mentorship or to copy trades from professional traders, then message our support account. Whether you want to become an elite member, get a ready-made strategy, or start copy trading. Anyway, I'll leave the links in the description. A great final trade brings me 500 bucks. As you can see, this indicator actually works pretty well. If you just practice with it, you'll be able to earn while using it. Yeah, of course, it's not a money button, but still, it's one of the best technical indicators out there. And if you also figure out how to combine it with our regular vertical volumes, well, then you can basically call yourself a pro trader. So, the most important thing is to remember this rule. Don't trade inside the volume. If you're not sure about a trade, just skip it. Yeah, if you can clearly see, for example, that all the volume is here and the price is somewhere below, then in that case, we open a trade downwards. If the price were somewhere here, closer, then obviously, we would open a trade towards the volume. So always remember this. If you want to trade for 5 or 10 minutes, set the value to 200. If you want to trade very quickly, then set the value to 100. And accordingly, you'll get completely different volumes. As you can see, here we already have completely different volumes. All of this works on the 1 minute time frame. So, I've shown you all the settings. If you want more strategies, then follow the links in the description. Don't forget to comment on this video, share your feedback. What do you think about this indicator? Maybe you want a breakdown of some similar indicators? In general, all useful links will be waiting for you in the description. I'll say goodbye for now, and see you in the next video.